This week kicks off with sort of a failed kitchen experiment. Melissa found an online recipe for some cottage cheesecakes. The idea is that you put cottage cheese onto a baking sheet with some spices, then toss them in the oven for a few minutes, and then you have these tasty little cakes. But the cakes kind of melted together, and they really weren't all that great. So we tried.
For a change of pace, I finally finished a nonfiction book, What's a Christian Anyway? Finding Our Way in an Age of Confusion and Corruption by Glenn Packiam. And it was based on him a set of sermons he gave going through the Nicene Creed. Well, the Nicene Creed is 1700 years old this year, so I'd heard a few more things about it than I had previously. But crazy to think about how old the creed was. I wasn't raised in a church that said creeds aloud often, but as I have read them more and understood a little bit more, I felt like it's a unifying factor where so many things are trying to divide us as Christians. I really enjoyed What's a Christian Anyway? There was a lot of good stuff. It wasn't new necessarily, but it did hone in more on what Christian beliefs have been through the centuries, and I would recommend it for sure.
Monday's dinner with Alex was a cut steak on a cucumber salad. Overall, a pretty simple meal, but it was really fun to see the plating process. I can never do the moving of a sliced steak in one move kind of deal.
Jammie Time!
Really odd not to get blooming lilies until the middle of August. I feel like in the past they've bloomed more in April, maybe early May. I guess we'll see next year which end is the fluke. The Tuesday night youth activity was to hike up to the rock on Castle Rock. We got up to the top right in time for sunset, so it was really nice. On the way down, I've always been convinced that the backside was the faster route down, and our group split up to kind of test the theory. I was really surprised that they beat us down the hill, but I found out later that they ran the whole way down.
I read Happily Never After by Kaylee Morgan. And Kaylee Morgan is a nom de plume for a colleague of mine who I just started working with and who I enjoy a lot. So I was excited to read her book, and but it wasn't my normal. I like contemporary YA, but this had that cancer story element that isn't one that I normally go for. I felt like the writing was great. I felt like there were definitely some things that were if they were adults, they would have figured this out by now. They would have said some more things to help clear up some of the issues, but it was definitely a YA. I read it pretty quickly. I enjoyed it a lot. The ending wasn't really what I wanted, but they never are with those kind of stories. I would definitely say Happily Never After was something I enjoyed.
Thursday, I got to help my mom get her Victrola working. It's the Victrola that her family had growing up. Well, when my grandparents passed, my Uncle Phil inherited it, and when Phil passed earlier this year, my mom had it moved to her house. She hadn't heard it play in years. Well, here we are on August 21st, and I am happy to say that I finally read my first book of the year. So the book was Joyful Outsiders by Patrick Miller and Keith Simon. And the general gist of this book was about Christianity, that we are all the body of Christ, and there are different ways that different people do Christianity. Just because somebody does Christianity different from me doesn't mean that they're wrong. It also doesn't mean that I'm wrong. There's just different ways that different people tend to approach Christianity. This book explores 6 of them. I would venture that there are more, but the 6 that are in here are a solid 6, and I can definitely point people out that are of those different types. For me, I am what the book refers to as a trainer and an ambassador, and the trainers and ambassadors, especially the trainers, we're the ones that do Bible studies, we're the ones that do prayer groups, we're the ones that you really need to be getting into the Word daily and researching it and making connections. And if you're not making connections, we really struggle with, do you really value your Christianity? And the book kind of emphasized that as a trainer, we shouldn't look down on people that do their Christianity different. And it also gives the other people ways to approach me, which I think really works well together, especially now that I'm stepping into a new role at church, a new leadership type position. It gives me a broader perspective of who's in our church and a greater appreciation for what they bring to the community. It was a very beneficial book for me to read at this time, and I'm glad I picked it up. So if you're a Christian really of any level, I would recommend picking up this book and seeing that there's going to be people that they're a hand and you're a foot, and you see your uses in the church as different, and both of those are okay. If you're an eye and somebody else is an ear, doesn't mean they're wrong or that you're wrong. You just need to learn to work together in the body of Christ. On Saturday, Alex and I headed to the farmer's market in town and got some stuff. One item that Alex got was a yak steak. Well, since I hadn't used my steak that I set out for myself on Thursday, I made our 2 steaks for dinner.